Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's podcast, we're going to be talking about all of the news from the launch of Disney Plus. We're also going to be talking about kind of a few other bits and pieces of content from Disney Plus. For example, I'll be giving you my thoughts on Noelle, Lady and the Tramp. We'll also be talking about the latest episode of The Mandalorian and a couple of other new content, and just running through what's been made available this week, because there has been obviously quite a bit of content added, even just days after launch, which is always a good thing anyway. But before we go any further, just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. First off, a big thank you to our Patreons. We've got Diane, we've got Julie, we've also got Russell, and we've also got Andrew, who are our Diamond Patrons. And we've also had a few other patrons join us as well at the lower tiers. A big thank you for all of your support. Really does mean that the podcast is its own self-funding little thing. It's covering all the costs. It isn't affected at all by all the big changes that are coming to Copa and YouTube in the months ahead. So it just means that it's great to kind of have your support. So big thank you to everyone for doing that. Also, saying regarding Copa is going to be coming into effect in January. If you're not aware, that is a children's protection system, which could dramatically impact on the YouTube channel. So if you are on YouTube, make sure you do follow me over on Twitter or on Facebook, or just bookmark the website to keep up with all the latest videos and news, etc. Because after January, depending on what happens with how they view the channel, you might not get notifications and things like that. So just be aware of that. So I'm going to be mentioning that a lot over the next sort of 6 weeks. So we also did an episode on Wednesday early. We did a bonus episode with the launch of Disney Plus, where we talked about a lot of the first episodes from there. So if you are joining in on Saturday, as per usual, there was an extra episode on the Wednesday. So just be aware of that one. So you got double helping this week. And also, if you are new to the channel or to the YouTube or to the audio platforms, welcome. And make sure you go as well and check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. So there we go. A little bit of housekeeping there. I just wanted to quickly run through. So first off, we're going to now move things around a bit. We're going to do all the TV shows and stuff that we watched a little bit later on. So let's just jump first off into the news. Big news really primarily was the new content drop on the Friday. So they did drop. Fridays is going to be the main new drop day for the originals. So first off, we had a new episode of The Mandalorian, a new episode of High School Musical, the series, new episode of Encore, new episode of Marvel Hero Project, another episode of The Imagineering Story, and then an episode of The World According to Jeff Goldblum, based around ice cream. And then we had a couple of little short things, including Forky Asks a Question and Disney Family Sundays. There was no new episode of, the Pixar in Real Life. That one didn't get a new episode this week. It looks like they're spreading them out a little bit more than maybe we were expecting. But yeah, so that was all of the new content. Disney also have announced there was some issues with the Simpsons, which we're going to go into a little bit more, but that'll be something there. They've also announced tons of new movie dates going right through from for years. They've gone right through to like 2023. I think they've added another like 5 Marvel movies. They've added more Pixar movies, moved around a lot of Fox titles, but this is like, we're talking going years in advance here. So obviously that will impact on what comes to Disney Plus, of when it comes to Disney Plus and things like that. But I'm not going to go into all the dates, because there's literally like 20 movies a year, I think, on average between Fox and Disney now, which I think is a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite a few. It gives us something to look forward to every couple of weeks at least, which is what we want.
Yeah. And obviously I also do think there's going to be an impact when we get to a point where Hulu is then much more opened up, because they're not going to have all these issues that Fox have got with HBO, where movies, I think, was it 2021, so they've still got issues there. They can't kind of fully integrate their own full system, and as well as that, it will impact things like the thing because you got the idea of things like the Blue Sky Studios, or whether or not they're affected by the HBO deal and things like that. So one of the movies was that did instantly jump out at me with that move was there was a Blue Sky Studios movie. I'm just trying to see, because there were so many announced, that was kicked back a whole year. It was kicked back I'm just trying to see which one it was now. Nimona. Moved back from March 5th, 2021 to January 2022, which could mean, and I think this will be a big thing for Disney Plus, that moves probably moves outside of the HBO deal. So then for that could come, and I would expect anything Blue Sky Studios to then be able to be free for Disney Plus. So they are moving things around, and I wouldn't be surprised if the streaming and all the rules and stuff will have an impact on what they're doing for that.
Yeah, not much to comment on that. We don't. I've never heard of the movie, so I don't even know.
No, so that's a couple of other bits and pieces as well. The soundtracks to a couple of the movies were also released on like Spotify and Amazon, and also like the Mandalorian, but they're released them like chapter by chapter as well. So if you like the music for the movies, you'll find them on there. But yeah, that kind of, I think as we did the episode on Wednesday, we only really had like 2-3 days of news. But yeah, just kind of a few big things. But I think the real big story really of the week was not just Disney Plus launching, but also kind of there was a lot of errors. I did do a video on Thursday about this, which again, this is the thing is with anything, and it's been the same thing on our Facebook group of the problems with the errors is there's a lot of people affected and there's a lot of people that aren't affected. And the thing is, a lot of the people that aren't affected are kind of going, whoa, it's all right for me, and there shouldn't be a problem, and everything's glory, and you shouldn't talk about the negative stuff. And it's like, but there's a massive chunk of people that can't see it, and they're getting angry and frustrated, and they want to cancel and all the rest of it. The errors do seem to be coming down when you look at like the reports of the errors. There's not as many reports of the errors now than there were a few days ago, so it is getting better. Disney are working to fix stuff, but there are still some issues coming up. But what did you think of all the stuff that's been going on with all these errors?
It's unfortunate, not unexpected, but definitely unfortunate. I do fall into the "it hasn't affected me" camp, so it's hard for me to judge it. But I will say, as a person on the "it didn't affect me" camp, responding to somebody who is affected by it with, well, it doesn't affect me, is not useful feedback. Sympathy or no response at all, unless you've got some sort of way of fixing the problem, which I don't. This is all on Disney, so I can't offer meaningful feedback. Just hopefully they get through it soon. I'm sure there will always be error codes. They can't ever completely get rid of them, but hopefully they can minimize them as much as possible, and people will get in and have a chance to watch the stuff that they want to watch, whether it's the originals or the back catalog or whatever. And if you are affected, actually, I do have one piece of feedback. If you are affected, make sure that you reach out to Disney and try to get credit for the days that you haven't been able to watch, because I realize they're still in the 7-day haven't paid yet trial period, but if you can't watch for 3 days, try to get those 3 days back, because you earned them just like everyone else, and it's not your fault you can't use them. So send in a ticket and do what you can.
You've got 3 ways of contacting Disney. You can either do it on the phone, you can do it through live chat, or you can do it through email. If you are maybe just suffering from minor issues and it isn't urgent in your eyes, best probably to do email. People have been reporting of both live chat and on the telephone of wait times of an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours. Even some pictures I've seen on the Facebook group of people have been stuck on the hold for 5 hours. Personally, I wouldn't want to wait that long. My time is more valuable in that sense. So I would be more along the lines of, if you can't get through quickly, maybe hold off. They were just rammed. They were completely unexpected of what was happening, and they were underprepared, I think. There was also a lot of people confused of how this all works, and there's this kind of like weird thing of going on. There's a number of areas, for example, like the continued watching, where that's like just functions just not there at all, and the search errors and things that aren't loading up. A lot of them tend to be either device orientated, where they aren't actually the device isn't supported, or there's some conflict going on between the device and stuff. And then there's problems with the accounts. So what I do is, if you are having a problem, you'll be given an error code. If you put that error code either into the official Disney Plus help section, or you can search on our website, or you can just whack it into Google Disney Plus error code and then the code that you've got. It will give you a rough idea of what there is, because there are some that you might be able to kind of have a look at. For example, I know there's been a number of people that have been blocked. Their accounts got blocked in mass, and that they've got to unblock them, and the only way they can do that is at customer service. So you have to, again, no fault of your own. You've just been this system of just blocking a load of people. There's also all the issues with the Hulu bundle. That's been just a great mess and fiasco of how that's all worked with not having an integrated login system already integrated before they started. That's been a nightmare. And then, of course, there were just some errors. Like there was like some people that are getting error codes where they've already used up their 10 devices and can't log in on anymore. And the trouble is, you can't actually, at the moment, take devices off, which is stupid. You can't actually go in and take them out. Because I know, like on Xbox, you can go in and PlayStation, you can go in and you can pull out what devices you're no longer using. Disney haven't integrated all that yet. So if you've got a large family, and I mean, there was this one person asked us, they got 9 kids, and they go, we can't all log in. It's like, no, you can't log all in. You don't have enough access to if all of you log in all at once, they'll get error codes of people, things like that, which essentially it's not really a problem at Disney's fault in terms of what they're doing, because they've given you your rules of what you can do and you've exceeded that. But the fact that you can't, it's just, there's a whole load of stuff with the app which is just not functioning well enough for what it should be, and it's definitely an issue going forward.
Yeah, and a lot of it sounds like the kind of thing where it seems obvious now that it's in people's hands, but it's probably something that they never even thought about at any level. It's like, why would you need more than 10 devices? Well, some people have pretty large families. They might have multi-generational families living in a single household, grandparents all the way down to kids. You can very quickly run out of devices, but it wouldn't have come up with them. So now they need to get back on the ball.
Yeah, I do think they're going to need, there's so much stuff that they need to fix. A lot of things of episodes are either missing or in the wrong order. There was an issue with the Simpsons, for example, and some of the older content was being zoomed in and was missing lots of stuff around the edges. Disney have now come out and said that next year they will be making all for the first 19 seasons the first 20 seasons of the Simpsons available in their original 4.3 aspect ratio to give viewers a chance on how they prefer to watch it. We're getting lots of reports of bits missing. And personally, I do view that things with episodes being missing. It's like, I know there's an episode of The Simpsons that had Michael Jackson that's been removed. Right, that to me is not an error. That's been a choice that they've made because they know the bad publicity over the idea of having it on there is worse than the idea of the publicity they get for not having it. That was a choice they made. But having random episodes of Chip and Dale missing or things like that, that is quality control. That's where they have messed up by not being due diligent and not doing it properly. And I do put that blame onto them for, this is like basic stuff that, they need to get a grip of much faster.
I agree completely. There are certain standards you expect. And you can argue they put so many items on all at once. And of course things slip through the cracks or whatever, but honestly, it's Disney. They have the resources. There shouldn't be things slipping through the cracks. Like you said, with The Simpsons, I give them leeway on that. Particularly the other issue that we're going to talk about in a moment, but also the Michael Jackson episode. There are a couple others missing. I believe if you go back to other streaming services that have The Simpsons on them, or even say video on demand content, they're missing there too. This is something that Fox made the decision of long before they came to Disney, and Disney just took what Fox gave them and imported it right over. Doesn't make it right necessarily. I can see why Fox would have made that decision and then Disney would have stuck with it. But the other stuff, Chip and Dale episodes missing. I think there were some original DuckTales episodes missing too.
I know Spider-Man and X-Men are some of their episodes are mixed up.
Exactly. And that actually matters for at least the 90s X-Men. The first season didn't have much coherency, but they were kind of ahead of their time. They had actual story arcs that went over multiple episodes. That wasn't all that common then, but missing episodes means you're missing part of the plot.
Yeah, I mean, especially on like the Spider-Man episodes where you kind of it's like a 20-part season and it just keeps building if you're having them out. I mean, I know when I was watching Agents of Shield on the Netherlands trial, I was going through season 5 and suddenly I jumped like 5 episodes and they were missing. They just took them off and now they're not there anymore. But yeah, there is this kind of weird thing of like, part of me is like, I'm looking at some of these errors and these things that are missing, and I know there's going to be some. And I knew there would be some. I knew there'd be minor errors. I knew there would be bits and pieces. That's the standard for live service launches. There's so many things that you're looking at going, yeah, that really should have been kind of picked up of like getting past that. And I know it's there is that thing of there's a lot working on it. And I'll be honest, I did have an episode, for example, like I watched a few episodes of Gravity Falls, and I'd watched like 3-4 episodes in a run, and suddenly I had an error come up on like a 5th episode, couldn't play. Just random. No reason why. I just watched 4 episodes, no reasons at all. Of course, got up, changed it over, put it back on, worked fine. But that was just like a random little error that, and I mean, every single one of the streaming services I use have little errors like that. And I'm not going to put that, that things like that can just happen all the time. But there is that problem of certain things are within their control and certain things aren't. And I do think the content of what they've put on is their problem rather than just a generic computer problem.
I agree. At the end of the day, the blame has to fall on them. They have the money to put the resources into it to make sure that everything is working properly and that everything that should be on the service is on the service.
Yeah. There's been a lot of issues. There's a lot of the problems have been this is again, if you're in at home and it's all working and all the rest of it, you might not necessarily have seen all this. For me personally, I had over about 400 emails come in this week. So I've not been able to reply to any of them because I had that many. The Facebook group has exploded. We're getting like 1,000+ people a day messaging. And obviously I have to go through and approve every single one or disapprove them. And I mean, we've got our team are doing it and going through it, but we are seeing so many people reporting problems. So therefore, for me personally, I have seen thousands of people reporting problems on the group. So therefore, I'm much more aware. And even on our comment section, you'll see like, I'm not having a problem. This is all, it's like this always happens. It's like it does. And then you'll see, oh, I can't get in. I can't get in. I can't get in. And then you get a load of people that can. And it's only when you open it up that you see it. But that's the kind of thing. If you're outside looking and you're all fine, we might be at a point now where maybe 90% of people are fine. It's just out of 10 million people, that's a big chunk. Even if even like 1% is still a big number of people. I do think it is getting better. The reports that we're getting through and on the reporter and stuff of when you look at the amount of reports being coming, they are reducing. They are coming down. I think a lot of the account issues have been sorted and a lot of the minor errors, but I think they've also held back on certain functions within the app to make sure that the app is working properly. Things like the continued watching, a lot of people moaning about that. It's not really something I've noticed because on my app, it seems to work. On the iPad version, it seems to remember where you left off and it gives you that continued watching bit. But a lot of people aren't even getting it. So they might not even activate it on some of the devices. Are you getting that?
I do not get that. Like I mentioned actually on Wednesday, most of the features after you finish an episode are completely done. So like continue watching is gone. There's no return to menu button. Many of the episodes that I've watched, not movies, but the shows that I've watched, they won't even bring up like, oh, would you like to see the trailer for next week or the extra features or stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of those features are not there for me.
And I'll be honest, I don't think that's a bad thing. It's awful that they're not there, but I also can at least acknowledge the fact of I'd much rather they remove functions causing problems and just let it run and get going and let people watch stuff and then add them in and fix them later. It's not ideal. They've had years to practice to get this thing ready for it, but sometimes, I know running my own business as well in the real world, sometimes you just have to kind of go, there's a problem, remove it, and you'll deal with it later, and just keep service going, and like if a piece of equipment fails, you've just sometimes just got to, and it happens. Every business has to do it. And yeah, I do think there is that aspect of some of this stuff should have been done, but there was no way Disney could plan for 10 million people accessing it in week 1 when their projections were much lower than that. And sometimes as well, a problem can be fine in trials and in tests, and it doesn't break until it gets into the real. Nobody can plan for a live service with millions of people accessing it until it's actually out. And if you're used to video games or anything like that, this happens a lot.
Yeah, just in the past several months, we've seen tons of video games launch with all sorts of server problems, can't access features you paid for, so on and so forth. And this happens to the AAA games, not just the little small indie developed ones. And so, yeah, it's not too much of a surprise here. And in any industry, as you were alluding to, at some point you have to just say, this isn't the product we promised, but it's better than nothing working at all. And yeah, they're going to take a monetary hit on it. They'll probably lose some subscribers over it. But I, as a consumer, would rather get 70% of the product than 0% of the product. Obviously, I would prefer to have 100%. And obviously, I would prefer if everybody could get into the product. I mean, that's part of the 30% or whatever percentage isn't working. Yeah, but, hopefully a couple, even next week, hopefully we'll be able to say, okay, launch problems are behind us, and now we can get into the actual service.
Yeah, and I do think, and like I said, does seem to be less people reporting the issues, which is good. There has also been, I think, a very bad way of like the communication from Disney's point about what devices are working, what devices aren't. And there's also, and this is not Disney's fault, the whole concept of streaming boxes is a foreign to a lot of people in terms of they don't understand it. They don't get it. There's like, there was a comment, for example, yesterday I was reading on the group about Comcast. Why can't I access it on there? And there was a load of people going in there, well, it's a cable company, you can't get it, it's a streaming service, you need a box and all this. But, and then you kind of go like, no, hold on. This person has got a Comcast box that's got like Netflix and apps in it. So it's not entirely unreasonable for them to have thought that they would be able to access the app within a box that they've already. And it's that kind of thing of going, yeah, no, this person has a device that they use daily that has Netflix and has these other streaming services, and they can't see Disney Plus. There's, that kind of thing of like, it's not their fault they don't know about it, because it's like, it's not up to them to, it's like if somebody go, well, they should go and Google it and find out all the information. It's like, yeah, but not everybody knows everything about it. I mean, I just always go back to the fact of, not everybody understands the system. You've got people that are older. Maybe they've just got lives that they don't really, they have a streaming device. It's like a lot of people have been going, it doesn't work on my iPad. And then you kind of ask them, how old is your iPad? Oh, it's 8 years old. It works fine. It's not going to work anymore. It's not, but in their eyes, their app is working. They're doing all the same things they're doing. This device works perfectly for them. Then they don't need to upgrade it in their eyes. And then suddenly coming along and going, oh no, you need to upgrade it because it can't run it. And it's like, but up till that day before there, they had no problems with everything they've been doing. So why would they assume they needed to do anything?
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing that we were talking about earlier this week with, say, the Vizio TVs or a number of smart TVs where, like, why doesn't it work? This is a smart TV. It's got the Roku or the Chromecast or the Amazon built-in. You're like, yeah, unfortunately, it's several years old. The firmware hasn't been updated, and it's just not supported. And I didn't want to find out that my Vizio doesn't work. That was, with the Chromecast built in. I mean, sure, fine, I can use my Xbox One, but not everyone has that option. In fact, most people don't have that option. And to find out that the TV you've been using, which might be your only media center, and no, now you got to spend another $600, $700, $800 on a TV that does this. Don't do that.
No,
go buy an actual streaming stick. You know, if yours doesn't work, go buy an actual Chromecast, Roku, whatever. Don't buy a new TV. You don't need to.
Yeah. Well, actually, this is a prime example, because my wife said to me, just because obviously, because it's not out in the UK, I can't access it through my smart TV. I haven't used little devices and stuff. So I've just plugged my iPad and iPhone into the television. And I said, well, are we going to be able to get the app on television? Because obviously she doesn't want to use the iPad and connections, and then I've got it working through the Xbox and all the rest of it in pieces. I said, well, it might not be on our television because ours is a 2016 LG. It might not be supported. I said, it'll be on the Xbox and the PlayStation. And she's like, oh, well, we ain't buying a new television just for Disney Plus. I said, no, we're not going to buy, and this is the thing of, we on our smart TV, we've got Now TV, we've got Amazon Prime, we've got BBC, we've got iPlay, we've got all the apps, but it never had Disney Life. This was the problem that we had. So, but I wouldn't, like I said, I didn't go and buy a new television for Disney Life. I went and brought a Fire Stick to watch Disney Life. It's not ideal, but unfortunately, when this like really weird system of smart devices that are constantly wanting being upgraded, and I would recommend now, forget your television. I know it's ideal, and I know the idea of I like having everything on the one remote, and I've been doing that for years, but they don't seem to last the same way. And the upgrades, little boxes do seem to be working better in the long run, because you don't need to keep buying new television every 2 to 3 years. If you've got a 4K television and it's working perfectly, don't get rid of it just because you need to upgrade your apps, or they're telling you, go buy a Roku HD 4K box and use that and keep your television for a few more years. I wouldn't. Definitely, I like the idea of a smart TV, but they're actually proving to be like, no, this isn't actually something I want to buy every few years. It's not financial. And if your television's working in 4K and it's all perfectly fine, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, and if you are looking here in the near future, we got Black Friday coming up. If you are already planning on doing a TV for other reasons, whatever, you might need to replace it for any other number of reasons that don't involve Disney Plus. I would not factor in whatever is built into the TV as your selling point. You want to be instead looking at graphics fidelity, color depth, viewing angle, all that stuff. If it's got a Chromecast built into it or a Roku built into it, that's a nice bonus, but you should not base your purchasing decision of a 4K television on that. Go for the important stuff. Go for the visuals. Well,
I know when I bought my TV those years ago, of like, when it gets Netflix and stuff built in, it was a selling point, and they prompt it as a selling point. And it's unfortunate we're at a point now where we're years down the line into this smart TV and smart device apps, and now, we've all got these devices. I mean, my mum and dad, I still haven't quite got them to upgrade the television. But then I said to them, if you're too happy with your television, we'll just get your little Roku box. And they've been using that on and off. They sort of struggle with it, but it's the kind of thing of this does happen, and it's just very. And I think it's this kind of thing of it's like people go, my Apple TV box isn't, what year is it? Oh, it's a generation 1 or generation 2, and it's like it's not going to work. Or another example, this was a really good one I thought, was someone going, I can't get the kids' iPads to get Disney Plus. And we kind of like working out of like answering him on the comments and stuff and going, well, what year is it? And he goes, oh, it's like hasn't updated past 10. They're about 8 years old, because obviously what's been happening, he gets new iPad, wife gets new iPad, passes old iPad down the line. So suddenly then you've got a whole family full. I mean, my dad's still using my iPad. When I get a new one, he'll get my old one. We go on that system of, well, the old ones are coming out of line, and it's that thing of like, well, it's not working. What do we do? It's like, the answer, you need a new iPad. You need to get and then, but there again, you don't want to go spend. It's like you don't want to go spend $400, $500 on a new iPad just to access an app. And it is just, we're in this weird stage of whether or not, and some of this stuff isn't even really Disney's fault. It might be Apple's fault of going all new apps have to be available on this device and can't go backwards, because Apple don't want you doing that, because they want you to buy a new device. It might not even be, because I don't think Amazon are quite as strict as Apple are, because theirs was very much like all Amazon devices, whereas Apple was like had to be above 11 on the OS level.
Right, and I think most Amazon devices don't tend to have much internal upgrades. The hardware on the inside isn't like a major jump forward with each generation. It's generally the viewing technology, or maybe the form factor, which means that they can support devices longer. I would also add on to this, very similar to what I was talking about with the television. If you're going to buy a tablet over Black Friday or Boxing Day or whatever, buy something that's useful for what you're going to use it for. If you're going to use your tablet just for streaming, whether it's Disney Plus, sorry, old habits, Disney Plus, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, whatever. If that's all you're going to use it for, you do not need a new iPad. You know, an Amazon Fire is fine. Heck, you know, a slightly off-brand, like one of the lesser-known Samsungs, LGs, stuff like that, they work fine too. Now, if you're going to use it in a like a work capacity, or you want to do some design or something like that, okay, yeah, go for the iPad, go for the Microsoft Surface, go for something with a little extra power. But if you're just reading books and watching streaming services, there's no reason to get the ultra awesome super HD $900 iPad.
No, it's just been a bit of a kind of an issue this week of there's that kind of line of people coming in, and it's like I said, it's cross generation. You're talking parents, kids, and grandparents, just people in general, of like, you know, where technology is something they use daily, but they don't keep up with the latest technology. Whereas, I mean, it's like me, I might buy a new iPad every 3 or 4 years, 2 to 3 years. I know I have a new iPhone every 2 years, you know, but it's like the iPhone, I do that because of the way that the purchasing system is. But with an actual iPad, yeah, I'm onto my third iPad. My laptops I upgrade about every 2 to 3 years, but some people don't do that, and some people upgrade every year. You know, there's a very line of what people go into, and it's fortunate. It's just like if you are having problems with your devices and things like this, have a look for the options. Go through. Generally, if you're just after Disney Plus, and the cheapest way thing is, and you're on your television, it's going to be a Roku box or an Amazon. You don't necessarily need the 4K versions. If you haven't got a 4K television, don't worry about that. But you're looking at about 30 plus bucks for one of those things. That's the cheapest way to get in and get rid of the issues. Yeah, it's been a bit messy. It really kind of, you know, it really showed what the problems are with launching on so many different devices. And a lot of this I wouldn't even put onto Disney's point of view. Like I said, some of this can be down to Google, down to Android, Amazon, Samsung. You know, the problem with the Vizio stuff, well, that was Vizio's problem, not really. It wasn't Disney's issue to fix that.
No, all of this is hardware. Disney has no control. They obviously want to get their stuff on as many systems as possible. So if your hardware, tablet, television, whatever, doesn't support Disney Plus, I would say 99% chance Disney tried and they couldn't get it to work on it, unless it's like a really obscure brand. Yeah. Like you got like the Chinese knockoff of the Chinese knockoff television, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, there we go. Cat interfering. Right. So let's leave all the news behind and let's jump into what we've been watching and doing some show reviews and stuff like that. Because we did have some new content. I'll be honest, I didn't watch as much of the new content as I wanted from yesterday. We had a big family meal last night, so I was out most of the evening. So I did get to what, but the thing is, we did sit down in the afternoon, chilled out on the couch, laid out with blankets and all the rest of it and snacks, and we did a double bill of Noelle and Lady and the Tramp. Both watched them back to back. Because again, that's the thing. I mean, now they don't normally. I don't think they're going to be quite often dropping 2 original movies on the same day, along with all the other content. So I'm going to just give my thoughts because I know you haven't had a chance to watch it due to work commitments this week.
Yeah, this week turned out to not be a good week for Disney to be dropping Disney Plus for me. I'm just thankful that the issues at work did not pop up until after Tuesday, so I got to be there for the launch.
Yes.
But yeah, I have not seen either Noelle or Lady and the Tramp. It actually annoys me. I want to see both of those. But yeah, it hasn't happened yet.
So let's start off with Lady and the Tramp. My thoughts on that one. It is a very good movie. It is. I probably would say I kind of enjoyed it a little bit more than The Lion King, but not as good as Aladdin. If I was to put it on, like the live action ones, would this movie have done? I don't think it would have done very well. I think it probably would have been maybe slaughtered at the box office because I don't think had it been released at cinemas, it was quite good enough for that. I think people might have been a bit like, okay, this is a bit of a stretch. But had it been released in cinemas, maybe instead of Mulan in a few months' time, I think a lot of people would still like it. It's still very like middle of the road. I mean, I think I gave it like I'll be doing the written review, 3.5 stars out of 5. You know, maybe a 7 out of 10. It's good. It's a good sit-at-home watch movie. It looks good in terms of how it's been shot. It just looks like a proper movie. It might sound weird, but it kind of you sort of sit there and go, no, okay, there's a few of the effects with the mouse which looked and the dog effects where they looked a little bit CG. But when they used the real dogs, it looked better. I'll be honest, I kind of watched the end of it and go, you know what? I think this movie might have worked better if the mouse hadn't moved at all and it was like the 70s where they just had the dog and you just heard the voices. It's like I'm not entirely sure if this upgrade to having all this CGI with the mouths moving actually, maybe that's just me growing up. It just looks like, oh, it looks a bit weird. You know, the mouths are moving while they're doing it, and it looks a bit. Or it's like if you just had the dog there, it would have looked nicer. But maybe that's just me growing up with like Homeward Bound and Benji.
I mean, I grew up with both. You know, Homeward Bound obviously is a classic, and there are other movies growing up that the mouths do move, and some are better than others. For instance, the more recent Lion King, I thought the mouth movements in that were way out of sync with the voices that were going alongside them. I could see either. I could guess why they would do it in Lady and the Tramp. I won't be able to say for sure until I actually see it. Having seen the trailers, I think I would have preferred just the disembodied voice. But I'll reserve judgment until I get to see it. But I am interested in seeing it. You're kind of placing it about where I expect it to fall for me, which is better than Lion King, somewhere on the Aladdin level. I think I didn't like Aladdin quite as much as you did, so maybe on the same level rather than below it. But we'll see. When I hopefully get a chance to see it this weekend, depending on how busy the news cycle is next week, I'll do a brief thing on it then.
Yeah, it's my wife was like, she goes, it was okay. She said it was better than Noelle. She said she did. She fell asleep halfway through it. That was kind of the thing of, but it was just been that kind of thing. I think of, I enjoyed it. It was a good, solid movie. I don't recall there being too many changes from the original. I don't remember the last time I watched the original one, but it seemed to go all along. I liked it. The music was good. There was this kind of thing that they did with it where I would almost say it was like, like we said before about like blind casting, where everyone's cast just depending on who they are, and if you look at it and go, well, in the turn of the 19th century, it wouldn't have happened like this because you've got mixed race marriages and like every other person you meet is of different ethnic backgrounds, and it's that kind of thing of like, well, yeah, if you said like, well, at the turn of the century that wouldn't have happened, but we're going to probably see this a lot more with movies where it's just people are cast as the characters and you just get it. It didn't bother me. I know, but I know there's a lot of complaints about that, but for me, didn't really see that as an issue because the whole movie, it was like that throughout the whole movie, and you just do it. At the end of the day, it's about talking dogs. It's not really high-end historical drama that I'm after at this point, and historical importance is that good when you've got dog chasing a rat around a room. It's just I was like, I don't really care at that point. We're beyond that. If it was, a historical movie like Dunkirk or something, I'd be a little bit more inclined to kind of go in line with that. But yeah, no, it's a movie about talking dogs.
Yeah, you do kind of have to take context into account, and they're not trying to do a historically accurate view of events, and that's fine. They don't have to. They want to tell a kid's story. We don't need to go into the racial politics of why this character would not be this way because they would be subjugated or put down, or the woman wouldn't be allowed to do this or that. It's like, come on. There are other movies for that. There are other avenues for that. Yes, it's true that, if you're doing an actual historical movie which relies on historical accuracy, okay, yes, valid argument.
The only thing is, because it's like, I think, well, if that was the case, I don't know if the Christmas lights on the Christmas tree at the end probably would have existed. Things like like little things like that. It was like the come along the lines of, there were some changes, like obviously, like we said, like with the Siamese cats, they're no longer Siamese cats. They've changed the song. I actually really like that. I really like that scene that they put in there. The cats are up to mischief. They wreck the place, and obviously, Lady gets the blame for it. And it was like, I really enjoyed that scene. I thought that was actually, that helped build it much more, and it was a really good scene. And the cats were real nasty, but it didn't last very long. Just as a whole, I just really thought it was a good, solid movie and perfect Disney Plus launch material. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the cats were barely in the original anyway. They're there for the song. They're there to be fake injured when the aunt or whoever shows up, and then they're really not in the movie after that. So their legacy is the song, which they sing in an incredibly racist way. So good job, Siamese cats.
Yeah. So moving on to the next movie, Noelle. Noelle is again middle of the road, very average. Had this gone to the box office, it would have tanked. I'll be honest. It is what I would refer to as a Netflix Christmas movie. My wife even went as far as say this would be a Hallmark Channel Christmas movie. Which was like, she didn't rate that one. She was like, I think she said to me 2.5, because she's like in the idea now. You see that she goes, "You are putting my opinion into this." Like, yes, I will let everybody know. Because if I have to sit through this as well. So she, so we kind of, I was chuckling throughout. I was laughing. I'm going to be giving it like 3 out of 5. It's funny. Anna Kendrick is that kind of thing. I don't know if anything else would have worked without her in it. Very much felt like a hybrid between Elf, Fred Claus, and every other Christmas movie you've ever seen, because it's kind of got the elf aspect of her being, and I mean, this is just going off the trailer, so let's not really spoil it. But she goes down to Earth or down from the North Pole, and is learning how to deal with people. That's like Elf. She's there's jokes about her being dressed, and that kind of same thing with a bit of Fred Claus, of kind of like Santa doesn't want to do it anymore, and somebody else is coming in and wants to computerize everything, and let Amazon deal with all the deliveries, which again, I think that was it I think it was Fred Claus, because you had Kevin Spacey. He kind of came in as the inspector, and there was a movie that it kind of took bits of like lots of different movies and put them all together into the same thing. It's all going to turn out all right. Noelle is going to come to Santa, and then they're dealing with that whole process of, is she going to be accepted by people? And then she is, and all the rest of it. And it's just a nice, feel-good Christmas movie. You watch it, sit down, this time of the year, enjoy it. Don't overthink it. Don't go in expecting a lot. It's worth watching, but put it into that kind of Netflixy kind of Christmas. I mean, it's like, for example, like Last Christmas, which is a movie out in cinemas here now for Christmas, starring the girl from Game of Thrones. That is a movie I would not go cinema to watch, but if it was on Netflix tonight, I would have watched it. That kind of thing. It is that kind of thing. You probably watch once. My wife did say this is not going to be a repeated Christmas viewing. It's not going to be, because that kind of thing of wanting to watch the same movies year and year. It was very, for us, very middle of the road. I can see now why Disney didn't really push this. They didn't put out screeners. I think they did a special presentation last weekend down at Walt Disney World. They had a premiere on Monday night, but they really didn't push this at all. Very much, it was very much Lady and the Tramp. I think they knew that this was a little bit of a push. I think they should have held on to it until next week. I think they should have dropped it next week and not even bothered with it this for launch. I think it would have been a much bigger impact had it come out, like, say, next week for Thanksgiving or something like that, or even just held it back for December. I think it got lost in the shuffle, I'll be honest.
I honestly, having not seen it, I honestly probably would have held it for like December 10-ish, 10, 12, somewhere in there. A couple weeks before Christmas, not really in the way of any
Togo that day. Yeah.
Yeah, so, all right, maybe push it another week or in one direction or the other. But yeah, having it at launch is a little bit far from Christmas and maybe kind of negatively impacts whether people are going to watch it or not. But maybe that was the idea as well. I still plan to watch it, but now that I haven't seen it at launch week, I might actually just hold out until right around Christmas, honestly, and watch it when the spirit is in full swing.
Well, I'll be honest. I think for us Thursday, we went out Christmas shopping. We were in town doing all the Christmas shopping, and we had the lights on, the music was on. So, and then we were sat down watching a Christmas movie, and I'm like, my wife's going, "We're not feeling Christmassy yet." And I was going, "No, not really in the Christmas mode." She goes, "But we've done Christmas shopping, Christmas wrapping, and watched the Christmas movie this week." So it's that kind of thing of we're a little bit early, but it's that situation of it's good. Definitely worth checking out. The great thing about Disney Plus, you ain't paying for it, so watch it. If you get bored halfway through, turn it off. But I thought it was funny. It was corny and cheesy, but it's a Christmas, kind of what you expect. It is that kind of level of. There were some really dodgy computer graphics now. It was that kind of thing of like the white little snowy little reindeer thing was like, oh, this looks really, really. It's like. Yeah, it's that is not well. I don't think it aged well. It was already. Ooh, why did you do that? It's just like it had its character. Is that that kind of thing of like with CGI sometimes of going, you've done it, but you didn't quite have enough budget to pull it off properly, and it looks slightly off.
Well, maybe they were planning on having a bigger budget for it, and then it got shuffled over to Disney Plus rather than getting a theatrical release, and they had to kind of scramble to put together. I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case or not.
No, but again, it looks. I mean, there's some scenes of like when they're at the North Pole. The set looks fantastic. I know they did film a lot of it on location and stuff down in Phoenix, Arizona, and it kind of for me when they arrived in this bit of it feels like they were just filming half the movie at like the Vineland outlets down in Walt Disney World. It's just like in just a generic mall. I was just going, and I'd sit there and go, man, if this was filmed in the outlets in Orlando, I wouldn't be surprised because that's how it felt. But I've only been to the outlets in a couple of places, so it might be the same across the whole of the US. But that did tickle me with those movies. But definitely see it. Like I said, it was a bit of an odd. It was all right, but it wasn't amazing. But nevertheless, what have you been watching this week on Disney, or this week, last few days on Disney Plus?
Not an incredible amount. Let's start with the bottom of the pile. How about that? Forky asks a question.
Yeah.
Bottom of the pile. Granted, the pile is only 3 episodes big, so you can interpret that how you want. Forky asks a question specifically. What is a friend? Did you watch this as well?
Yes, and I suffered from the same problem that the first episode did. I don't remember it. So I'm really struggling with this Forky series. I'm really struggling with it. I'm just not feeling it. I mean, I was out with my family last night. My 4-year-old nephew, he's there, sat at the table with his Forky action figure. He's doing his Forky stuff. He's yapping. He's loving Forky. He probably will love it. I'm just not getting it.
Well, that's the thing. It from the 2 episodes, we said this on Wednesday.
Yeah.
This is very much aimed at a very young crowd where the randomness of Forky will really appeal. I will admit I did chuckle at the end of the episode. It's 6 minutes, but we still won't go into spoilers on it. But Forky makes a friend who is not actually a toy, and he makes a friend out of what is, even in their world, an inanimate object.
Yeah.
and you kind of can see where it's going just from all the actions in it. I still chuckled at the end of it,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's random. It's Forky being random. It's Ham being like, "What are you doing, man? Ham rolling his eyes and just being, "This is stupid," and me kind of going along with him. But you know what? It's 5 minutes long. Who cares? It was something I put on. It was literally, I was between two different calls for work, and like, I need something that's not work. All right, 5 minutes, perfect. Forky asked a question. There we go. It did what I needed it to do for 5 minutes. I will never watch this again.
No, there's something about this series that just isn't clicking. I think I spent probably more than 5 minutes just trying to explain to my dad what Forky was. But no, I did watch it. It was I don't really. There's something about this series that is just not connecting with me. And again, I'm not the target audience. This is for my nephew, and I know he would love it. And
this is for a very young audience, and you just have to be prepared for that if you haven't watched it yet. But if you have young kids who liked Toy Story 4 and they liked Forky, perfect. They will love this.
So what else did you watch on Disney Plus?
Let's go up to the second one, which is still weird. Jeff Goldblum and his ice cream show. And I know you watched this because you sell ice cream.
Yeah,
you have not seen this?
No, I did not watch it. I have been an ice cream seller since I was about 8 years old. We've had ice cream vans. I sell ice cream for a living. Literally behind me, there is tons of boxes of cones of ice cream, and I'm sat between two ice cream freezers. I am so on for this one, but I decided I'm going to watch it tonight because it was like, I actually want to sit down and watch this properly. So what was it good? Was it good?
It was better than the first episode, which, as we recall, was about sneakers. Again, the first portion of the episode is like, "Hi, I'm Jeff Goldblum. I'm going to talk about being Jeff Goldblum for a while, and I, Jeff Goldblum, like ice cream. In fact, here are pictures of me liking ice cream throughout the years." I'm just like, come on, move it along. Once they actually got into the episode proper, it was actually pretty interesting. They got some recognizable names within the ice cream industry, which sounds like a weird thing to say, but you'll recognize them, to talk about their start, how they got it. There's a history of ice cream, or what I guess you would call the ancestors of ice cream. It'll make more sense when you see it. And then they move into a section, I really want to spoil it, but I'm not going to, which legitimately made me gag. I was just like, wow, you made ice cream gross. I don't want to watch that part again. You will know exactly what part it is when we get to it. And then it of course ends with him creating his own ice cream with the help of a professional ice cream designer. And then he ties it into another nice little bit with the U.S. Navy, of all things, which, again, it'll make sense when you watch it. I felt this episode was more informative than the sneakers episode. The sneakers episode was a lot of, as I said on Wednesday, here are sneakers. Here are people who love sneakers. They really love sneakers. That's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool too. And then it's like, I didn't really learn much about it, but I learned stuff about ice cream. So I like this episode quite a bit more.
Yeah, I'm gonna. It's something of like, I want to watch this one. The first episode did leave me a little bit cold on the series, but I'm gonna obviously want to watch this one. Yeah. So what else did you watch?
All right. Well, the last thing I got to watch this week was the Prime episode, The Mandalorian episode 2. So before we talk about that, were there any things that you watched that we have not talked about? Like say High School, the musical?
The musical, the series, the musical of the musical. Second episode. Continuing on the same trend of the last one, of just the hijinks between them all, and the kind of, this episode was kind of good in the fact of they're very much like, they like the fact that the girl and the boy are together and they don't want to be together, and that's the main plot of that episode, and the other one's trying to kind of kick them off, and it's kind of a building episode. It wasn't an amazing episode. There was a couple of really good musical pieces. There was one bit where they were sat at the piano singing. I thought that was really well done. It's a good. It's very high school drama-y. It's I kind of like it. It's a little bit of a I was sat there last night and got right. I got about half an hour before I go to bed. It's like encore or I was like, no, High School Musical was like, yeah, I kind of want to see where that was going. This is like, this is becoming a little bit of a, I wasn't gonna like it, but I am gonna continue. It's like now I'm in for the season. This is like, again, 30 minutes, which I know we're gonna talk a little bit about with the Mandalorian, but I enjoyed it. It's completely daft. I don't know why I'm liking it, but I'm liking it, and it's just a cheesy drama with teenagers. It's up to date. I'm liking the style with the whole documentary thing. I think that adds a real interesting element to it because suddenly it's just working for me, and I didn't expect to say. I never. If you'd said to me that all year, I don't think I've really mentioned High School Musical as being something I wanted to watch, but I am enjoying it. So it was
I think more often than not, prior to the launch of Disney Plus, the most we could say about High School the Musical would be something about where we'd go off on a tangent and say the musical like 30 times in a row because that was the only thing that entertained us about it. I will admit I haven't seen the episode and I don't plan to at this point. I might binge the rest of the series depending on how the reviews go for the completion of it. But I do actually share that kind of love of cheesy, over the top soap opera kind of dramas. Doesn't have to be teen. Could actually kind of prefer a bit older to kind of relate to that a bit more. But it does have to have a backing or like a plot that I'm more interested in, and just musicals aren't not really my thing. So that's why this one didn't click with me, but I'm glad it's clicking with you. And that means we'll get a chance to talk about it more in the future. And I know there are a lot of people who are watching us who are really into High School Musical. So stick around because we'll be talking. Well, Roger will be talking about it more.
I'm just trying to think. Unfortunately, it's like yesterday. I was watching Disney Plus for close to 6 to 7 hours of Disney Plus yesterday, so it's not like I didn't get to watch a lot of Disney. I did, but it's the two movies obviously just sucked up like 4 hours of it, so that was the key thing of all the new releases. But I'll be watching like Encore and Jeff Goldblum and also the Imagineering Story. Did you watch that or did you not catch it?
It was the one this week that I was really like, I want to watch this, but I want to watch it proper, like you were talking about earlier. I want to sit down. I want to focus on it. I want to be in it. Like Forky asked a question, I could just turn it on and kind of half pay attention to it. Jeff Goldblum was kind of the same. But The Mandalorian and the Imagineering stories, and then Lady and the Tramp, when I get a chance to watch that, I really want to be there with it being the only thing going on. So I decided to watch The Mandalorian and save the Imagineering story, but I am super excited to see the second episode. I'll watch it this weekend, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about episode 3 next week because we'll both get a chance to watch that at the proper time.
It's definitely, for me, it's like you said, that the thing of like the Mandalorian is notifications off, and you sit there and watch it. Imagineering story is phones upside down next to me, I'm watching it. Then like everything else is like and it's like kind of, I think that like for me, like the Imagineering story was like think of, no, I am sitting down, I am watching this and I want to watch it properly. Same thing with the movies. I just sat there and I watched the movies like I want to just turn off and just watch those movies. The Imagineering story was that, and if I hadn't have gone out for a meal, that would have been the thing to watch last night. So let's jump into The Mandalorian. We'll try to keep it spoiler free as much as we can. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to. Well, the only thing is like what we've seen in a trailer, because obviously there's a beast in the trailer, and we know about the beast. That's been known for months. So, what did you think of the episode?
It was a good episode. Not quite as good as the first episode, I thought. Though I did like the aesthetic of it, like especially the first, let's say 15 minutes of it. They were really kind of channeling that old school Western Clint Eastwood style movie. The music, the presentation, the landscape, all of it. And I thought that was really well done. The fights were good. The action was good. It was fun to see another returning species from the original movies. Nick Nolte's character was still entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
The child, that's the name of the episode. So
we're going to refer to it as the child,
but if you haven't seen the first episode, if you haven't seen the second episode, that's as far as we're going with it. The child was interesting.
I think by next week we're going to have to at least
can't talk about it without.
I think by next week we're just going to have to go with like, okay, there's a kind of thing of like
spoiled.
I think we're gonna have to get to that point of like, you can only allow so long before a general kind of feeling. But
I'm imagining like the episode 6 review being like, things happen. There's a gunfight. They say things. They're snarky. He's stoic. Yes. Episode 6. 7 out of 10. That's all we can say about it.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So consider this your advance warning.
Yeah.
Next week there will be spoilers, but not for episode 3.
Yeah.
It will be spoilers for stuff from episode 1 and 2.
Yeah. I think we're gonna have to because otherwise you are gonna get to that point of going, you've had time to get there. We don't want to go into obviously because we're going to be obviously recording this about 24 hours after the episodes drop, so we don't want to go too much into it. But personally, I really enjoyed this episode. I sat down. I did think when I sat down, I went, 31 minutes, 27 32 minutes, 32 minutes. And I go, short, perfect time because I managed to fit it in between going food shopping and then we were going to the gym. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to sit here and just turn off for half an hour. I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I kind of liked it a little bit more than the first episode. It kind of was building him up, but also knocking him down. And I like that. I like the fact that he was vulnerable. I like the fact that he's not 100% perfect, but he got the job done. Again, it does very little with very little stuff. This is this kind of thing of like, he just like breathes out and sighs, and it's like, that's all he had to do to show the emotion was just that little bit. And it was, the action scenes, especially with the returning characters, I love that. I thought that was so cool. And it kind of, I'm sure that they are on Tatooine. Just the moons and the way the planet looks, and I hope it is, because I really think they need to start doing that. Stop going to different planets just to spread out the universe. With like taking back to where it is.
I'm kind of back and forth on that bit. I got the same basic impression that this is probably Tatooine, and I'm fine with them kind of tying stuff back in.
Yeah,
it does kind of come down to one of that points where you're like, this desert planet has a lot of really important stuff happening on it, which kind of at a certain point you're like, there are other planets other than Tatooine.
But then you could have them. You could have them 5,000, 10,000 miles.
Oh yeah, it is a planet. We do tend to forget that because Star Wars is very famous for single biome planets. No, it's a desert world. It's like their poles is there ice at the pole? No, it's a desert planet. It's a desert. 100% desert. You're like, that doesn't make sense.
Just because you might land in Shanghai, but there's something going on in New York very differently. I just sometimes you lose that thing. Like, no, there's only just one village on this island, and everyone get this planet that everyone goes to.
It is a desert planet, though. There are not very big cities. But let's move on from that. I think the main thing that kept this from being, for me, as good as episode 1 was that in terms of the plot, the entire plot of the episode really has nothing to do with the plot of the series as presented so far. This is very much one of those episodes where there's like, it's
a fetch quest if you play video games.
Yeah, it's totally a fetch quest. It is. It's important for character development. It's important to learn a little bit about the child. It's a little bit to learn about the Mandalorian himself, as you mentioned, to make him human. This is not Boba Fett. He is not immune to everything except blind people with staves. He can lose a fight. He can be beat up in a fight. He's more Indiana Jones versus James Bond kind of thing. But in terms of plot, this is like totally separate from where the series is going. This is him going, all of my things are broken and now I need to fix the things. And the entire episode is about fixing the things. And the episode is also about breaking the things in the first place. It's not like it's picking up a plot point from episode 1.
No, but I really enjoyed it. I'll be honest, and this has been a bit of a thing I saw on the group of, it was a lot shorter than I was expecting. I mean, half an hour. I mean, a lot of people saying like, well, yeah, it's great. It's a television show. Why are you moaning about the length? And it's like, I do recall them say, I mean, I know they said it's like, it was a TV series, but like, I'd much rather have an excellent 30-minute show than a boring 45-minute show. But there was that part of me that goes, I was kind of hoping that these were going to be like an hour each and kind of we were getting a nice, like, but if they're only half an hour long each, 8 episodes is barely going to be 4 hours long. It's not quite a trilogy that I was hoping for.
Yeah. I'm of two minds about it. On the one hand, obviously I want it longer. I want to feel like I'm getting, a substantial story out of every single episode. On the other hand, much like you were saying, if they have a 30-minute story, I would rather them tell a 30-minute story rather than add in 10 minutes of fluff to make it a 40-minute story. We have seen it. It's more here in America than with British television, because you guys have much tighter production schedules, much shorter season lengths than we do. But we'll use the CW shows. I'm not going to rag on them, but the CW shows, you've got 22 episodes of Arrow, you've got 22 episodes of Flash, 17 of Legends of Tomorrow, another 22 of Supergirl. And you're just like, the story you're telling is not a 22 episode, 44-minute show. And you can tell, because when you get to halfway through the season, they're just like, oh yes, we're going to have this totally random subplot that has nothing to do with anything, but it'll take us through the next 8 episodes. It's like, you know what? I'd rather you tell the story in the number of episodes that it takes you to tell the story.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing. It's a good analogy, really, because for like Brits, we get a lot of the BBC and Channel 4 and stuff. We get a lot of 3-episode seasons, 6 episodes, 8 episodes. It generally used to be 6. 6 used to be the standard one. They're kind of moving around a little bit more. But we might get, obviously with the BBC, we don't get adverts, so we might get an hour episode. So I'm much more, this concept of an 8-episode season to me is completely normal to what I've been used to for the past 30 years. The whole 40 years kind of thing of the 22-episode long drawn out American seasons. I'm used to that series, but there are drawbacks. There are good things about it. I know, like with things like the Flash and Arrow and stuff, you'd get halfway through the season and then they'd hit like a reset button and the second half of the season would be like completely different from the first half. I'm used to that concept. So for me, it doesn't affect, I don't have that feeling of like, no, well, an 8-episode season, fine, great. I much rather have that than long drawn out ones that they're doing. So to me, it's good. I mean, I'm thinking like that with even just with High School Musical, if it's 10 episodes, 11 episodes, half an hour each, you're talking about 2-3 hours. That's good. That's good. Rather than, 22 episodes, we're looking at 15, 18 hours of content, and some of it is really just drawn out. Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking about this for Marvel fans or for MCU fans. You don't even have to look at the 22 episode seasons to get this feeling. Just look at Luke Cage season 1 on Netflix.
Yeah.
The first, it's basically cut in half. It's a 13 episode series. There is basically a 7-episode story followed by a 6-episode story that have no connection whatsoever. And honestly, I would have preferred if they'd only told one of those stories rather than being constricted to Netflix's kind of like, we want 13 episodes. And it's not the only one. Many of the MCU stories, particularly around the time the Defenders came out, were very much like, what am I supposed to do for a couple episodes here that are just totally filling in? And that, say what you will about the Defenders, I know a lot of people were disappointed about it. It was only 8 episodes. It was a single story. It was a continuous narrative, and that did help it. What you can complain about, the actual content, but it was a single story, and that did.
I was literally about to bring that up as exact example of Defenders being 8 episodes, much compacted, and a better line than I know with the second seasons of those Netflix shows where I'm just like, the thing. So I do think 6 episodes, 8 episodes. I am liking this weekly drop. There is that whole thing of people going, I want to bond, you want to binge. I don't like these. Like, I've only got 30 minutes. I want to watch next episode. Why do I have to wait? It's like, no, because this is the reason why. Because you'd fly through the whole of the Mandalorian in one afternoon, and they want you to watch it over 8 weeks. It's that whole kind of instant thing of like, no, like the whole weird thing. I mean, I know I've been watching like the animated series, but the thing of like sitting down, watching half an hour of Star Wars, a brand new Star Wars at home on the couch, and then going off and carrying, it's like, well, I quite like that. That was quite a weird feeling. I enjoyed that.
For me, when they drop everything at once, like with the Marvel Netflix shows, I feel like I'm obligated to sit down and watch them in a binge. Like if I'm not binging them, then I'm not doing it properly, and I can't stay in the conversation with my friends who are watching it. Whereas once a week with The Mandalorian or Winter Soldier and Falcon or the Loki show, when those come out, I have an entire week to watch them, and I can stay up to date with my friends, and I don't have to worry about, well, he's on episode 7 and I'm on episode 3, so what the heck are we going to talk about? Granted, you can still fall behind. You're on vacation for 2 weeks, you don't watch some episodes, and now you're 2 weeks behind, but it's still easier to catch up, and it's less likely to be an issue. Having said all that, if you are a binger, if that is the way you like to watch, and you want to watch 13 episodes in 13 hours, have at it. It just means on Disney Plus you have to wait until the series is done. But you can spin that to your advantage. That means you don't have to subscribe at this moment. It means you can subscribe 2 or 3 months down the line and binge any of the shows that you want to watch. Mandalorian, High School the Musical, anything.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be, I think, interesting going forward, how this is all going to work out. I do think it's the right move by Disney. I think going back to like the traditional system, it has a lot of advantages, and that the binge format works best when you're doing box sets of previously released content. That's how most of this binge watching started going into. And I mean, with Netflix, they aren't liking the fact as well that they put all this money into a season and only get discussed for 2 days, and then everyone moves on to the next thing. They're not getting that keep draw. It's like, I think if Stranger Things had gone out over 8 weeks, how much more hype there would have been, because it was a great season. But everyone's then, oh no, we can't talk about it because of spoilers. So you just literally just folded in, and it was all done and dusted in a week. And yeah, there are advantages and disadvantages, but I can kind of think like with things like High School Musical, had they dropped the whole lot, you wouldn't have that same issue, because I don't know if people would be as interested as they are with The Mandalorian. But no, it's just a thing going forward, and we'll get, I mean, with normal traditional television, we wait till next week for the next episode. It's just like normal telly. It's not that different.
Yeah, you mentioned like the box sets, the older seasons, stuff like that. And I'm just trying to picture them releasing a single Simpsons episode every week on Disney Plus. I'm just like, well, you would have content for the next 20 years.
It is that kind.
But I'm glad they didn't do that.
Well, I'm glad, because I have been going through some of the episodes. That's my plan of going through watching more of The Simpsons, and just want to finish off the Gravity Falls as well a bit. So, carry on.
Sorry, while we're talking about The Simpsons, we forgot to mention this earlier. The controversy regarding the aspect ratio.
I think we did that.
Did we talk about it?
Yeah, I think we did.
Well, okay, just in case, because I don't remember talking about it.
Yeah.
Disney has said they're going to fix the aspect ratios with Simpsons. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it.
No, it's kind of one of those things of, there are some visual gags that are getting lost because of it, but I don't know. It's a bit of an odd one. I think we said, a lot of that issues might have been down to what content, what Fox had done, and then Disney just, they might have just taken everything that was on the Simpsons world and watched for it all, gone, ticks all the boxes, let's put it up. And that might have literally been, and they're not sitting there going, oh, well, why don't we zoom them in and zoom them? It might have all been done beforehand and they just used it. But so I've been watching Gravity Falls, a bit of Simpsons. I also watched the first episode of Gordon Ramsay Uncharted, where he was in Peru. Looks stunning. I did actually visit Peru about 10 years ago. It's a beautiful country. Went up into the Machu Picchu and went up and spent 5 days walking through the mountains, visiting all these little villages and stuff. So it's actually kind of quite like, oh, this was, I've done this in myself, and it was reminding me of my trip. Beautiful stuff. He's there cooking up guinea pig and eating it, and I'll be honest, it does taste a bit like chicken. And that whole kind of thing, I think for me, there was like, oh, I couldn't got what he was doing. It looks, I'm going to carry on with the season. I've always liked, that thing of Gordon Ramsay. It's also quite nice the fact that he's been tamed and he's having to, when he doesn't have to use the F word constantly, he does actually. There's a few other shows he does as well that he does that he is actually quite a funny bloke when you get away from all the kitchen nightmares and the kitchen, all this kind of stuff. I really enjoyed this series. This is going to be something this was on my watch list. Watched the first episode, really liked it. I mean, I haven't seen any of them before, so there's quite a few National Geographic shows. But this one got brought up a few times by people on the Facebook group of going, is anybody else watching this? Because this is really cool. I thought, yeah, it was. I've got this. There's a couple of those shows that I haven't seen before. I don't think they've even might have aired over here on the National Geographic channel, but yeah, a great little series that I'm going to be watching, definitely.
To be honest, I forgot the series existed, but it was one that I wanted to earmark to watch. Like you, I know Gordon Ramsay kind of made his name as that firebrand who just insults all the people for how terrible their cooking is and how they need to clean up their kitchen and stop ripping off customers and stuff. But I like him much better as when he's doing like the kids shows and stuff like that, because he can't yell at the kids.
No.
You can tell sometimes he wants to, but he can't really yell at the kids. But he's much more of like an influential figure. Yeah. Like you can see the teacher, the person who wants these kids to succeed at cooking. And I kind of wish he would treat more adults the same way, guide them. I know he has the amateur cooks who aren't professional, and he'll treat them better because they're not used to just getting ripped into. Having said all that, I'm glad you reminded me of the show. I need to add it to my watch list. It just got lost in the shuffle of all the things that I added to my watch list on that first day, because it wasn't just the originals. I was just like, ooh, I remember that show. I remember that show. I remember that show. Watch list. That reminds me of the one other UI issue. Netflix. You can add to list from the page with all the shows on it. They need to have that here. You have to click through and then hit the button and then go.
There has been issues with the watch lists. Some people have not been getting them. Some people have been having them. They do them and then they disappear. It's not quite working properly. Just worth waiting for that a little bit. I wouldn't put too much. You could put them all in and then they get wiped out again. It's not good.
I did, in fact, lose a couple of items off my watch list. I think The Mandalorian actually left my watch list. I was like, there is no way I removed The Mandalorian from my watch list, but it was gone. So that definitely is a thing.
Yeah, definitely thing to go forward. But yeah, there's loads of different TV series that I want to kind of catch up on. I think it's amazing watching where everyone's jumping off and doing watching different content and what people are watching. But anything else you've been watching?
Not myself, but that reminded me of a story. Really, really fast story. My coworker's husband, a person I have spoken to like 3 times in my life, messaged me so enthusiastically. He sent me a text message like, I just got Disney Plus, and the first thing I did was watch Even Stevens. I'm like, cool. I've spoken to you like 3 times, but I love your enthusiasm. And I've actually never seen that show myself. I know about it. I know the rough plot, but I just love that people are coming into Disney Plus and they're getting excited about so many different things. And just like this guy I barely know wanted to share how happy he was that Even Stevens was on Disney Plus and that he could watch it again.
There is that kind of thing of like this. The worry for me is a little bit of this nostalgia. I want to watch this and I want to watch that. Okay. How long will that last? Of like just pulling in on the nostalgia of being a kid and going, oh, this is my childhood and I want to watch it again. Because to me, that's a bit like, that's usually only like lasts for a bubble, because it eventually like, oh, that's scratched that itch. Oh, what else is on here? And that's where I'm worried about, because we've had no news or drops about how new content is being dropped on here from the Disney Channel and National Geographic. None of that's come up yet. We haven't seen anything added. That might take a little bit longer. I don't know. But, there needs to be something. We need to start seeing, they've not mentioned how that's going to work, how new seasons are going to drop on there from library content. It's all very much been like, here it is. Here's a mass feast, an all-you-can-eat buffet of Disney content. Help yourself. It's like, yeah, but the nostalgia bubble's only going to hold on for so much. I mean, I know, like I said, for us, I'm more interested in new. I'm not really interested. I've had access to the demand system on Disney Life for years. I don't really often sit there and go, I know what, I'm going to watch Bolt this afternoon, or I'm going to watch Bedknobs and Broomstick. I personally don't have that in me. I much rather sit there and go, what's new? What new episode have I not seen? Is there something I've missed? Is there something an old movie I've not watched before? I need to watch it. So I'm not really someone that goes back and watches old content a lot. Mine is more about what's new. This is why I like all the originals and stuff. That's what's more exciting to me, is about that, rather than, and then, like we said, catching up on a season like Gravity Falls, which I missed the first time around. Once I'm finished with them, I want to watch Amphibia. There are certain seasons that I've not watched. Star Wars Resistance, things. There are shows that I've missed that I want to catch up on, but to me, they're all new, rather than it's like Simpsons. I could say, but I think after about season 15, I don't know if I've watched any in the last 15 seasons. I know there's at least 200 to 300 episodes of The Simpsons that I've never watched before, so therefore there's a little bit of a difference. But yeah, I don't know. But there's a load of people that are just watching, Disney Channel movies and classic movies, and they're all sitting around as a family and just watching the same movie over and over again. And kids just watching Frozen and Frozen and Frozen. I know I was having a discussion with my brother last night about the fact that Toy Story or something has been removed off Netflix, and they are fuming because they're like, he just wants to watch it. Well, it's on this other one, but I don't want that. He watches it. You try explaining that to a 4-year-old.
To be fair, if your kid is watching any of these movies, Toy Story, Frozen, more than 5 times in say a couple weeks, you should probably just buy the movie.
But I know it's so easy for them because they can flip between.
I know.
And then they've got to get the jam and the cream in the box and all the rest of it. I can see why the thing of a disc covered in fingerprints and going in and putting toast in the VCR, and everyone did that. But that kind of thing.
No, I didn't. I never put toast in the VCR.
But you know what kids are like. You just kind of
know what kids are like.
That kind of thing. If I could see why. When it's on demand, it's easy on the remote. The kid knows how to use it. He usually tells my dad of how to watch something on the PlayStation, kind of thing. But I can see, like, it was quite funny just talking to my brother about the fact of him just going, they've removed it from Netflix. Well, I can't explain it to him, that he can't watch it.
But that's why you buy it. If you buy it, it can't be removed from Netflix or Disney Plus. No. But it's a cost benefit analysis. Obviously, don't buy a movie if you're going to watch it once. Buy it if you're going to watch it many, many times. That reminded me of my boss actually is going down to Disney next year, Disney World, and he was asking advice on what he should go to, because he only gets to go. This is the first time his kids are going. I think they're like 5 and 8 or something like that, and he was asking for recommendations. I was giving them the rides for him and his wife, but then he's like, all right, what about for the kids? And the first thing I said was Frozen, the sing along. Yeah. And you could just see oh dear God, no. It's like, your kid's going to love it. And the jokes are for you, so you should enjoy it. But I know that you didn't actually enjoy it that much, but most of the adults I talked to actually do enjoy the musical show at Hollywood Studios.
Yeah, so it's that kind of thing. I know the kids we were with were our friends' kids. They loved it, but we weren't quite so impressed. But we wouldn't be doing it again. But just a quick thing before we go off. Something I forgot, kind of. Obviously, with all the new originals, they're dropping about midnight on the Friday morning on Pacific time. So I think it's about 3 a.m. Eastern Standard, which is about 8 o'clock UK time, so perfect time for me. But what's happening is it's dropping on there, but it's not like because they put in the press release 12:01 or something. It's like not at 12:02 is like they're all there. It seems to have to populate through. Doesn't quite, and every app is different. Some people were saying it would take about an hour or so for it to feed through all the different things. I know I was like clicking on the Mandalorian, episode 2 wasn't there. Went on to Encore, episode 2 was there, and clicked on the other one and it wasn't. And then I clicked back onto another one. Because what I do is in that instance, the minute it comes in, I hit download to the device and just download it. So I know it seems to just run smoother on my iPad. But it, just be aware. It's not like 12:02. You can jump in and kind of watch everything. That second, it might improve over time, but I think the app takes a little bit of time to spread out across. People like on Xbox were saying it was taking like an hour to get on there because people are sat there like, where is it? I'm late. It should be on. I want to watch it straight away. Not quite working quite as fast as that because it's just going to populate out across everything.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to release things on that kind of schedule, but like you said, I think it'll get better in time. That said, just in general, for any sort of like release that happens at an exact time, midnight, 9 a.m., whatever, it's generally best to give it a couple of minutes at the very least, just because you don't know what kind of issues are going to happen. It might come in late. Everyone might be DDoSing the login screen, whatever. Just in general, give yourself an extra 5 to 10 minutes just in case.
Well, I mean, you find this usually like with video games of when they get released of like whether or not they necessarily pop up straight away. I've been used to doing Disney store checks every morning at midnight EST, or at that time of where they update, and it always takes a little bit of time for it to populate through the website. It seems to be one of those things. So if you are up waiting for it, maybe just be aware of the fact that it might or not drop, but they'll all be there for you in the morning. But it depends obviously on your time scales. You might be sat there at midnight every night and you don't go to bed till 3 o'clock in the morning, then you could just be aware that you might not quite get it bang on 12 o'clock.
Yeah, but it's not a limited resource.
No.
They don't have a limited number of views. Once 1,000 people watch the 3rd episode of Mandalorian, no one else can watch it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
There
was someone that did actually ask the question of, is there a certain amount of limited subscribers you can have to Disney Plus? Do I have to get in now, or will I? It's like, no, you'll be fine. They're planning on about 120 million. You can get in. You're fine. But yeah, on that note, thank you very much for joining us. As I said, make sure you do go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com and follow us on Twitter or Facebook to keep up with all the latest. We'll be back next week with another episode where we'll be going through some of the things from this week, but also primarily trying to focus on some of the originals and other things we've been watching. Thank you very much, and we shall see you guys soon. Later.
Okay.
I
have spoken.
Yes.